Well, in most cases, they're filed in their personnel file, although in some cases they actually have a separate file that you might not know as a regular public citizen for discipline versus their personnel file. That's the case sometimes here in Cincinnati, for example. And then it stays with their record, but in some cases the unions have been able to negotiate and have some episodes or discipline taken off their record after 5 or 7 years. And it sort of cycles. If you're on good behavior for a while, the bad behavior falls off. So if a bad incident may not be reported or may not be known in their file anymore after 10 years or so. Well, if you look at the data that we published nationally, we published lists from 44 states of all the different officers who've been decertified, basically lost their license to be a police officer. The majority of those, more than 10%, were for drugs and alcohol abuse. But there were another 10% that were for domestic abuse, and there was another good portion of those that were for dishonesty or perjury. So, it runs the gamut from, insubordination all the way up to excessive force to felony convictions. And that actually happens more than you would think. We found that to be a fairly common occurrence because people in these small towns are so desperate for police help that sometimes they just take what they can get and don't really check very hard. All it would have taken is one phone call from this small town mayor to this other town less than an hour away. And I literally say his personnel file at that at that department is this big. So I've seen it myself. So he was actually fired twice from that department and reinstated by a mediator. He was convicted of a felony. He crashed a police car. The list went on and on. The system of police discipline in this country is so localized and balkanized. It's a state by state, municipality by municipality endeavor. So it varies from place to place. Even from state to state, it varies. So you could actually get decertified in one state and then actually go apply and get a badge in another state. So that we found that happening quite often as well.
So this irresponsible little prick of a human being endangered my life and the life of a county sheriff with his irresponsible use of deadly force, his hip-mounted penis extension, his Glock handgun. He should not be a state trooper, and now he's a detective. He should not be that either. He doesn't deserve to wear a uniform. He's an irresponsible fool. That's my opinion and my story, and I'm sticking to it. It's obvious to me that this little 5-foot-tall, 110-pound wimp of a human being became a state trooper for the sole purpose of feeling safe and secure in a society full of guys like myself. When he got me in the vehicle and told me he was afraid of me, I couldn't believe that the words were coming out of his mouth. After he put 2 sets of handcuffs on me, because he said he saw people my size in the past break them, which is total bullshit. Then when he asked me how much I weighed and how tall I was, I just couldn't help but to believe that there was just something terribly wrong with this man. He should not be a state trooper. He should not be a detective. He should be in the care of mental health care providers in an institution somewhere before he kills somebody. And because of a system that self-polices, this guy will get away with whatever he wants to. Eventually he will injure or kill someone that doesn't deserve it. And it'll all be covered up because the cops take care of their own. As you can see from all the statistics that I put forth from this conversation in this video, this is just one individual who has investigated this stuff. And they have found so many incidents of police misconduct, abuse, felony behavior. They abuse drugs. They rape people. They beat them up. It's unbelievable what goes on. These are nothing but judicially approved gang members that can get away with almost anything. And it's just wrong. We live in a country that allows this kind of crap, and it's wrong. And somebody should do something about it. So I'm going to start. And I hope other people take the time and put their necks out to do the same. Do something about it, or nothing will ever change, and more people will be abused or die at the hands of useless little pricks like this guy. And now, as a result of his bullshit behavior, my life is ruined. I am seen as someone who would beat up other people, which I would never do. All because of this guy's insecurities and willingness to just start writing all kinds of charges that are just ridiculous. Felony threatening, felony confinement, all this crap. I raised my voice to somebody. That's felony threatening? And I asked the person to stay in the vehicle because we're going to leave shortly. That's criminal confinement? What an asshole. And I have to live with it. There's nothing I can do about this. Not a damn thing. Wonderful. What a wonderful world we live in to let little pieces of shit like this destroy good men's lives. That's just wrong.